we'll get into why and how. But I want to kind of intro it with just what do you do? Give yourself an intro.
Yeah, man. My name is Brandon Davis. I worked in media for 10 years at a site called comicbook.com. That ended in August of 2024. And since then, I have launched my own channels and kind of just built my own brands as that I think are a blend of a media outlet and sort of an independent content creator, like with that influencer style of distribution, but with the journalism skill set and approach to creating that content. Um, and I'm just a huge fan of movies and TV and the people who make them. And I share my journey with the internet of both the interviews that I do with the celebrities and basically the experience of doing the interviews. It's kind of like a meta thing where not only am I covering these things like a journalist, but I'm also sharing the experience of how I got the opportunity to cover it, why this happened, all those kind of things. So it's almost like like I'm like an interviewer and then a vlogger about my own interviews, I guess. Okay, I don't know. I don't. It's kind of it's interesting. It's interesting.
I mean, it's funny you bring up comic book. I want to kind of mention that and then touch base on that. How was it for you when you realized? I mean, how long did you have in advance? Did you know beforehand that it was finishing?
Well, unofficially,
Mm.
that I started working there. My first thing I ever did with them was in October of 2014. I was still in college at the time, and then I started full time in January 2015. So it was like just short of an official 10 years. But I think it's a few months before the end, I had caught wind of what was happening in a way that was like I wasn't sure, but I kind of had a feeling. I had a feeling there was a sale coming. I had a feeling of who was buying it, and I wasn't excited about that. And then once it happened, it was just like, well, we don't want to work together. Than me and the new owner. I started to feel and have conversations with close friends about I think I've done everything I can here. I'm making great money. Like I was making I was spoiled with how I was paid and how I was treated, and I know that I was very lucky, but I worked a lot. And when I started, I did not make any money. So it was kind of a tipping of the scale to I think balance it out. But I was just like I don't know what's really left to do here other than start another podcast or do this or do that. I feel like I've done, other than host Hall H, which isn't something that's officially part of that job. I was like, I've done pretty much everything except maybe there's a couple people I haven't interviewed, and I don't know what else to do because I'm coming up on 10 years and I started to get a little antsy. So I was kind of okay with it. Once I had a feeling that it was going to come to an end, I was like, you know what? If this is coming to an end and I don't want to work with this guy, he doesn't want to work with me. That's fine. That's going to be okay. I don't know what's next, but I'll have to figure that out. And so for a few months, right before that August of 2024, I knew the sale was coming. I had a feeling it wouldn't work out. And then it was this thing where it was supposed to, like the jobs were offered and stuff, but we just didn't, we did not, it wasn't happening. And I was like, I'm okay with taking a chance on something else.
It's, things happen for a reason, man. And the success that you've got since comic book is something I look at and think is very admirable.
I appreciate it, man.
What I mean, we'll talk about this now. You're just off of the Daredevil season 2 finale event. How did that come about? Was how much was that was you? How much was it? On the other side. Talk to me
Man,
about the process.
honestly, that was a dream event. That I can't. I'm still looking back at it, like I made a video that is just like a 4 minute long Instagram video that Instagram was like, this is too long to recommend to people. You need to shorten it. But I was like, you know what? I don't really this one's for me. I just want to look back on this, and the only way I'll look back on it really is if I do post it somewhere, and then like the memories come up, and it's like this was you a year ago, and I'll be reminded of it. So that that I think that conversation started as long ago as like December. I first shared the idea of it with Disney and Marvel because I did a Peacemaker podcast last year, and that definitely changed the whole trajectory of everything I'm doing because the DC team was so inclusive with me, so helpful, so like just hey, we appreciate your help. Anything you can do, like we love it. Thank you. And I did a weekly interview with a cast member from Peacemaker, with the only exception being week 6. It wasn't a cast member, it was James Gunn, which and huge thanks to me. We did a full hour after episode 6 of Peacemaker, which was a huge episode of the show. And I got a good experience and saw the success and what is possible with like the timeliness of those interviews. So I really wanted to replicate that. And the next show that I really cared about was Daredevil. Like there was other shows I watched, like I mean, The Boys, but I thought I don't really know anybody at Amazon that well. Invincible, and I just was like, I don't know if these are very famous actors who do voice roles in Invincible, so I didn't know if that was something that would be even possible to do that sort of thing with Invincible. And I was like, I love Daredevil. I really want to do this with. I would love to do with every Marvel show, every DC show if I can. So in like December, I think it was, I first pitched the idea of like a weekly Daredevil interview series. Um, and it was a little bit harder to schedule just because of actor schedules and different things. But then by I think February, schedule started coming together, and we started with week 4 was the first Daredevil like podcast interview I did, and we did one every week from that point forward for episodes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that event started coming together, and Disney was super super helpful. I'm gonna be honest, they were really easy to work with once we like decided we were gonna do it. We used their theater. I was going to rent a theater and cover the cost of the theater. We used the theater at the Disney building in New York. They coordinated like the rides for the talent. I filled the room, and I was responsible for the whole audience. I was responsible for the graphics on screen. I was responsible for the production of it. But they also, that theater has like a built-in sort of production team that handled the lights. And I brought my own lights. I didn't know they were going to have that. So I brought these tiny little lights that my whole podcast setup is, it fits in a carry-on suitcase because I just need to make it as easy as possible for an actor or somebody to say, yes, okay, we can meet at this office. We can meet at your house. We can meet at my hotel suite. I just did 3 interviews in my hotel suite for Mortal Kombat because it's this lightweight setup that looks great, sounds great, and makes it easy for people to say yes. So I brought that to this big ass theater, and there was this stage manager comes out. And he's like, "Hey man, we have our own lights. We can light the whole stage for you. Do you want to use those?" And I was like, "I would so much rather use your lights." So it was really a great, like honestly, I have to give them so much props. They were super collaborative on the Disney and Marvel side. I honestly, more than I even expected them to be. They were super helpful. So they handled a lot of the venue responsibilities. I handled the crowd, the production, other than the lights and some of that stuff, and the promotion and all that, and scheduling. And yeah, it was a pretty cool experience.
Did you get to enjoy that final episode, or were you just a bundle of nerves, or do you have that anymore?
I wasn't, to be honest. I am usually a bundle of nerves. I think if you watch that interview, I was like way more calm and excited than I usually am. I think I talked too much in that interview. Like I was just having fun with it. I'm usually much more nervous. I had a lot of good help. I had 2 friends specifically that I've worked with before who were super helpful on the day, and they made it a lot easier for me. If I didn't have them, I would have been a chicken with my head cut off, which I usually am because I do a lot of stuff by myself. But that one was like I watched the finale like 2 months ago, and I didn't get a chance to watch it again because my screener access expired. So I missed like the first couple minutes of the actual episode in the theater, and then I walked in and I sat next to Vincent D'Onofrio, and we watched like 35 minutes of it, and then snuck out of the theater so that people wouldn't see him yet. That was a pretty damn cool experience because like sitting next to him while people were reacting to his Kingpin, that was just like, I was like, this is what is, how do we get here? How did I get, like, what? This is insane.
We were traveling back. Me and my fiance were traveling back from Dublin when the finale dropped, so we were watching it on the train on our iPad.
Yeah. Oh God, what a way to,
one
the way it
AirPod
was
each.
intended.
Oh, exactly. Kevin Feige be rolling right now. No, it. What a stunner of an episode. This isn't a Daredevil podcast. This isn't a Daredevil, but Daredevil is one of my favorites. How did you feel about the final episode? Where does that lead you for?
I thought it was great. I think it's one of the best MCU. I think the Marvel TV show's weakness often is their finale episodes since Disney Plus started doing Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few exceptions to that. And I think this is definitely one. Both seasons of Daredevil, Born Again, have a great finale, in my opinion. Ironheart, I think its only really great episode is the finale. Loki has great finales. Other than that, Agatha had a pretty good finale. But I don't love the WandaVision finale. I felt like I love WandaVision, but I thought it was better than its finale.
Okay.
Like I just think a lot of times Moon Knight, every there's like this trope in Marvel that they, I think for the first like 3 4 years, they're like, we need to introduce a new version of the character in the finale. They got to get a new costume. They got to do this. They got to do that. And we save it for the last episode every time. And it oftentimes was cool, but it would, I don't know, it would feel like a detour from what we were actually expecting or getting up until then in a lot of ways. And I like almost all of what Marvel has put on TV, except Secret Invasion. But I thought the Daredevil finale was one of the best. I think Loki season two finale and this Daredevil season two finale are probably my two favorites.
Loki is one of those little like gems that I was pleasantly surprised going into
I
it.
love that show.
Pleasantly surprised and seeing how that ends off for the bigger picture of Marvel. I think what's good about Daredevil is, in realistic standpoint, it's low stakes in the sense of the bigger, wider MCU. We're fast approaching Doomsday, which is going to be absolute chaos. I hope.
Oh,
But
dude, I saw that trailer. Woo!
oh, okay, yes, all right. Let's talk about it. Obviously,
Ha, ha.
you can chat about what actually you saw. Correct?
Oh yeah. Oh, I've yapped. Oh, brother. Yeah. That was a good trailer.
I have avoided everything. I have not seen any recreations. I've not seen Eric from New Rockstars talk about it. I saw he made a video on it. I'm like, nope, this time I'm not. You will be my trailer for Doomsday. This is
Oh,
one of
you
my
should.
most.
You once you hear it, you can't go back.
This is one of my most anticipated movies from a long damn time. I want you to recite it to me and get me excited for December.
Oh, dude. I mean, oh god, it was. It just starts with what was the first thing in the trailer? I'm trying to remember the very. I think it starts with Professor X and the Xavier's school sign is just broken down in some rubble, and then it shows Charles looking out the window, what looks like sort of meteor coming down on the reflection. The man just looks like he's like, oh, this is the end. He looks kind of sad. And then you see Doctor Doom sort of rising up from like an ashy area from the side, like a silhouette shot. You hear him narrating something, and he's like, "We will be faced with an impossible choice." And I don't know, it's just Downey doing an accent that actually worked better than I just did, that's for sure. And then Thor narrates the rest of the trailer, talking about how if they don't all stand together, we will go to war, brothers and sisters. But he has lost fellow soldiers or warriors stronger than everyone here combined, and from a threat that he feared less than this one. And now they have to go. If they don't join hands, like it's going to be the end and all this stuff. And then you just see these different characters meeting. You saw like Sam Wilson and Ant-Man meeting the Thunderbolts roster in the New Avengers Tower. You saw the Wakandans meeting with the Fantastic Four in like this what was clearly a lake, but the water is cleared out. The same like the water is around them the same way sort of Doctor Strange pushed the water out in Endgame around Avengers HQ. And you get Shang-Chi versus Gambit in the X Mansion, which was so sick, dude. Because like the color scheme of that, because it's this darkly lit, broken down X Mansion, and Shang-Chi's yellow 10 rings versus Gambit's purple cards. It was just magnificent. You see Yelena come around a corner, and Reed Richards is looking at her all concerned, and you see Yelena fight Yelena, and then one of them turns into Mystique. Bro, I mean, it was like the whole thing was brilliant, and then it
Jeez.
like as Thor's monologue starts really ramping up, he throws Stormbreaker at Doctor Doom, who just puts one hand up and catches it. And it was just like, oh my god! And then you hear he's like, as that happens, you hear Thor say, "We need a miracle." And then you see him on the Fantastic Four ship, and you hear, "Hey pal," and Thor's like, "Impossible." And I thought it was gonna be Tony Stark because he looked like he was seeing a ghost. There's Steve Rogers, and he puts his hand out, and the axe goes to his hand, and he grins at him, and it's like I don't know how these two ended up on the Fantastic Four ship. I don't know what's going on. If the movie is as good as that trailer, I'm getting chills even thinking about it. I got goosebumps right now. Man, that was a phenomenal trailer.
If I didn't know you saw the trailer early at the event, I'd say you'd be bullshitting. That sounds like
It,
the biggest like Reddit fan casting, oh my god. That
it's just
is
my
ultra.
biggest problem with the MCU, and this is coming from somebody who still enjoys what the MCU is putting out, has been how disconnected it has been. There's been some stuff that connects, like yes, we get Yelena and Black Widow, and then she's in an episode of Hawkeye and this and that. But the Infinity Saga just felt more cohesive, and we trusted that the credit scenes would pay off. Brother, where is Charlize Theron? Where's Harry Styles? Where's Mahershala? Like all these things that are just, where's Jake Lockley at? Come on.
Like I said, our interests kind of overlap a little bit. I'm a collector as well. I love collecting little bits and bobs here and there. Your
Hell yeah.
background's phenomenal. I see your Instagram and TikToks with your hot toys, your masks. It's a collector's wet dream. What is the one piece that you're willing to show off now that you can that is your holy grail?
So this is my office downstairs. So I have a 3 bedroom house. And this is my office room. And then the room right below me, when I bought the house, I was renting 2 of the rooms to friends. It was the only way I could afford it. And now I have my own house, which is nice. Nobody's in here. But the room downstairs was one of my friend's bedrooms, and I turned it into basically like a movie room. It's like an 8 by 11 bedroom, but just put a couch and a TV on the wall. And that's where the rest of my collectibles are, which is downstairs. But in here, actually, I would say the coolest stuff is probably in here though, because that is really just like my helmets and some more hot toys. And I wouldn't say there's any hot toys figure that is a singular grail for me. First, it started with this, and it's missing one key signature. I'll get it one day. But when I did the Peacemaker podcast, I had every guest sign a Peacemaker helmet that they gave out at the premiere. So this has uh, Frank Grillo, Robert Patrick, Sol Rodriguez, Jennifer Holland, Sean Gunn. Who else we got here?
Okay.
David Denman, Steve Agee, Nully, and James Gunn. John Cena is the only one that hasn't signed this damn thing. And actually Joel Kinnaman too, but I was on a flight to go interview Joel Kinnaman on Easter Sunday, and on the flight I got an email that said, "Hey, he actually can't do the interview anymore." So he still hasn't signed it either. So I was like, "Well, I'm already on the flight." They were like, "Oh no, sorry." So, and we haven't rescheduled yet. So maybe one day we'll get Joel Kinnaman to sign on for an interview, and I'll be on the flight and we'll do it. And then this is so when I had James Gunn on the podcast, uh, I ordered the New York Comic Con exclude like James Gunn pop figure, and there were apparently 2 of these, and the only difference is the sticker. And so one said New York Comic Con, and one just said like fall convention exclusive, which there was like I don't know 1,000 of those, but there was 500 of the New York Comic Con, and the difference in price was absurd. But I was like, I want the right one if I'm gonna do this. This was like my trophy to myself for that podcast, and I brought this, and I had James Gunn sign it. So that's definitely one of my Grail collectibles. And then I did the same thing I did with Peacemaker helmet with Daredevil. Um, Everyone except Ayelet Zurer, who did the interviews with me, signed this one because I didn't have it yet when I interviewed Ayelet. So I had Matthew Lillard on the side, who actually I forgot to have him sign it, and I chased him to the elevator, and he was still there, and he signed it for me. Wilson Bethel signed the front, put the bullseye thing. That's really cool. Vincent D'Onofrio signed the side and wrote Kingpin underneath it. Janaea Walton, who plays BB Urick, and then Charlie Cox signed the top back there and wrote the little DD. And I did those both, those 2 silver ones on the stage after the event. So it's kind of like for me, these things are like a cool memory. Like it's a cool, it's like a trophy of like, hey, look, your hard work made this happen. And it's like, it takes me back to those things where every time I look at this signature, I'm like, oh yeah, we did that interview at this place and it released on this day about this episode. And that's how I used to be with my Hot Toys figures. I would only buy them if I was at like a convention or somewhere I wanted to remember where I got it. And then I started working with Sideshow, and I got spoiled. They started sending me stuff, and then COVID came, and I stopped buying any other collectibles, and I would buy like one or toys figures a year. So now these are the thing, like these signatures are the thing that I associate with like a moment or a place or a time or something like that.
I just want to ask you, for somebody who has interviewed who you've interviewed, you've got that kind of confidence in you. Whether you feel it or not is another thing, but you're confident. You hold yourself. You hold your own. Is there any top tips that you can give me as a fresh new little interview blood to kind of push myself on with my content?
It comes down to what the goals are. Like I think every interview has different goals, and how much time you have with every interview. The prep changes for that too. Like if I'm doing a 4 minute junket interview, my prep could be 30 minutes. Like I mean, it could be less. Like at 4 minutes is when you do a junket, it's like I know what I need to ask. That's it. Let's just do it because I know what I'm interested in and I know what my audience is interested in. And also maybe we'll get something that goes viral. And then you basically try to do those things. Um, but when you like, for me, that's always the 2 things. Like when I write a question down, I always look at it and think about, is this really coming from a place of I'm interested in the answer? Because I do think of myself as my own target audience. I only want to attract people to my community that have similar interests. I never want to ask something that I'm like seeking a headline or seeking link backs or anything like that, because that's what you have to do as a journalist. That's literally, you have to get the headline, whether wherever the motivation comes from. Sometimes it comes from a genuine place of curiosity. Sometimes it comes from a place of your boss wants you to get clicks on the site, or sometimes it's your own ego wanting to get clicks on the site. Sometimes it's all of those things, or other things. But now it's like now I want people to feel like they're part of the conversation. I want to feel representative of fans, and like, so I'll go on Twitter, I'll go on Reddit, I'll go on people's like social media accounts, I'll go here and there to find out what are people saying, what are people curious about, what am I curious about, what has this person shared on social media lately that I'm about to talk to. I'll go to their IMDb profile. Is there anything interesting coming up that I might have overlooked? Like, I just go try to look. I have a certain like routine of places I look for like things I might miss. And also, one thing I do is, if I think I ever might interview someone, I'll take a notes app on my phone where I could be driving in the car and I'll have a thought of like I'd be at the gym, I could be at the mall, whatever, on a plane. You know, I'll be like, oh man, if I ever talk to Kevin Feige, I'd love to ask him about this one scene and this thing that he said one time. And I will write it down because I will forget. And I will go in that notes app and I'll write down that question because it's usually something pretty good. Sometimes it's dog shit. Sometimes it's something pretty good. And I'm like, all right, I want to write that down. So it's like, you write everything down, just no ins and outs. Another, like, the ins and outs thing is the most important thing too, I think, because I've been in interviews where I don't know everything about what I'm talking about. I've been in interviews where I don't know much about what I'm interviewing the person about, because when you work at a site like Comic Book and you're hosting your San Diego Comic Con interview suite and you're doing 14 interviews a day that you found out about yesterday, you might not have watched Star Trek, but have 7 people from Star Trek at the same time. And you have 30 minutes to figure it out because you got all day. You're like, I Comic Con, I'm getting 5 a.m. I'm in the studio, and the studio goes till 5 p.m. And then that's my time to like go out, network, see the floor, and all that. So I sleep 4 hours a day at Comic Con. Know as much as you can, because if you get in the room with the cast of Star Trek and your staff helps you, whatever, sends you questions, when somebody says something that could be very interesting, if you know what they're talking about, you're able to carry the conversation and keep it going. If you don't know what they're talking about, you're either going to look stupid if you try and get it wrong, or you're going to be aware of that and you're not going to try as a result. So just know as much as you can. And also, it's like, it's okay to not do an interview if you get offered something, or you don't feel like you're an expert on it, or you think somebody might be a better fit. I've learned that it's okay to just like say, I don't think I'm the right fit for this one. But if you can research it, you think it's a good opportunity, and you can know the ins and outs and believe in what you're talking about and have a human conversation, that's always the goal.
I think that's why I was so interested in having you on as one of my first ones back, because it's a really great launch of bringing it back. One, comic books, movies,
Yeah.
collector. It's like a perfect blend of everything I'm interested in into a person. And I've been watching your content for so long. It's actually a pleasure to sit down with you and ask these questions. It's really interesting you were saying about, you're asking these questions for a reason. It's not just to tick a box or whatever. You're actually interested in asking those specific questions. Genuinely, thank you for that. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for saying. I mean, it's like, I don't think I'm not the best interviewer, and I'm never going to be the best interviewer. I will ramble in a question. I will sometimes be not fully prepared, or feel like I could have been more prepared, or just, I'm not like, I look at Kevin McCarthy, I look at Perry Nemiroff, I look at these people around me who I think are phenomenal interviewers, whose voice sounds better than mine, whose questions are better than mine, just things that I just don't think I'll ever be on their level with. But I do know I'm going to work harder in the amount of time I put into this. That's my thing is, and I'm not saying they don't work hard. They do. But I work an unhealthy amount. And I think that's really the only reason I'm able to keep doing this stuff, is because I love the stuff that I'm talking about. And because I enjoy these movies and TV shows and topics that I get to talk about. I mean, it's usually like today I slept in because I don't have any responsibilities this weekend for the first time in maybe this year. Um, but usually, I mean, I'm up at like 8 or 9 and I start working immediately, and I'll work until like 11 p.m.
hey, look, I appreciate the words, especially coming from you. Initially, when I contacted you, it was to get tips and talk to you as an interviewer. I just want to know and pick your brain for a little bit. It turned into this. I am so thankful for your time. One question that I like to ask now is you have a long days, long travel days, doing Hall H, you're doing all these mad events. What do you do at the end of the day to wind down from all of that?
I usually get in bed around 12:30, 1 a.m. And then I'll doom scroll a little bit. And then when I realize there's nothing interesting on the internet anymore, which I wish I would realize sooner every day, I will usually just throw on a TV show. Like I've been trying to get through the most recent episode of The Boys for the past 2 nights, but I've gotten in bed after 12:30 both of the past 2 nights, and I have been like falling asleep. I'm like, you know what? No, I got to watch this later. So usually I'll just throw something on TV, usually something I've already watched. Like I think last night I ended up switching to like honestly, like 1990 whatever is Pokemon. Like I just put on Pokemon on Amazon because it just showed up and it was like, dude, I was like, oh wow, okay. And it's kind of like, oh wow, this is charming. I remember when animation looked like this. This is what I watched as a kid. 10 minutes in, turn the TV off, turned on the little noise thing on the iPhone, and I was like, I was out. I was knocked.
Yeah, look, thank you so much for your time, man. I
Dude,
do
thank you,
appreciate it.
man. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see this and share it and everything. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk about stuff like this.